Okay, so welcome to the unit media training. So this, so for this lecture, I will only talk about how to take pictures during an event. So let's start first with composition. So this is about how you arrange objects in the picture. And there are many kinds of composition. You can see for the example here, or you can see rules of third, golden ratio, center, etc. But the key thing here is that you don't need to remember all of this, and the main thing here is that you have to use your feelings. So yeah, that the feelings here definitely play an important part. Let's dive into an example over here. Okay, so here we are at the composition example over here. So I have myself as a main character over here. Uh, okay, so composition. So let's apply some composition over here. So you can see that if I apply to this angle, it's gonna look very shit over here. Uh, like the main character, why I have to ask myself why the hell is the main character aiming at? Like it feels very cramped here when there's a bunch of space behind him. So one easy fix here is that I'm gonna move the camera like just a little bit over here, and yeah, this, and then I wanna make him aiming at something. So in reality, that could be, say, there's a helicopter over here or a flying car. I don't up to you depending on the situation, but at least in this angle, the main character is at least looks like aiming at something. So actually I'm applying the rules of third over here. You can see that if I divide it into like a grid-like thing, uh, there will be space left in here. So the key point is that the main character should look in front of the main character should have space in front of it. As you can see over here, this with space and this without space. It looks very cramped and like it doesn't tell very much. Even this angle is also okay. It's still better than this camera position over here. And then about the angle, like you can do this angle, it still look fine. But if you're gonna do like this angle, like bro, what are you aiming at? I don't know what you're trying to tell here. Or if, okay, so even then this angle is also okay. I say this is a center point. So upon rules of third, I move the main character to the like a grid. There's a third line over here, so I'm gonna move up a bit. So yeah, it looks much better. I mean, it still look better than this abdominal over here. Yep, yeah, because I have actually seen people put their camera like this, so I have nothing to say. Okay, so let's move on to the next part. So next we have lightings. So lighting literally defines if your pick is good or not, because this also depends on the position of the lightings you set, and also the entire, and lighting is an entire concept that is very deep, so therefore it needs to be studied thoroughly. Uh, okay, so this is an example. This one is without light, and this one is with light. You can see the clear difference here. With light, you can create another depth for the picture, and the real feeling for it. Whereas this one over here, it looks bland as fuck, and yeah, like this just looks bland, and this looks has much more depth into it. But in this lecture, we only discuss about how bright in some part of a pic is, because lighting in art is a kind of quite complex thing, and it takes time to master. So this is an example using RGE. So this one is obviously very awful. Okay, not that awful, but I cannot see the main character in this picture. The background has sufficient lightings, but this one does not. However, on this one has has enough lighting, probably brighter than your future already. So let's dive into examples over here. Okay, so let's have a quick question here. Can you find our main character? Obviously no, because this scene is look black as dark as hell. So if I go down here, you can at least see him. But however, it's still very dark. And here's our main character. So I know that a lot of you guys want to do like special operation, kind of taking pictures thinking, and you kind of like just let everything be as dark as possible. But again, if you cannot let the user see the main character, it's very pointless. So let's fix this a bit. So I'm gonna move here over here and move the character a bit over here. So let's say the light. So let's say I still want light, but I don't want too bright. So option one is that I can crank up the brightness over here. So just 0.1 over here. Okay, now it's brighter, but this shit looks ugly. So just gonna turn it down a bit. This still sucks. 1, 2. Okay, this looks a little better, but it's somehow still dark. So you can see that the light here is quite dim. It's not too bright, but it's not too dark either. So another solution is that I can move the character. Let's say this is my character, and then I teleport him. Let's teleport him over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna crank the brightness up a bit. So let's say 0.1. This looks shit. 0.2. Okay, this looks a little better. I'm gonna try to tweak a few more things. So let's say no, that's just worse. Okay, so now our character is seeable, but it's still not the amount of light I want enough. So let's do it bold and put him over here. So I say over here, and then yep, that looks much better. I'm gonna do some things over here. So I'm gonna pick a door over here. So and then go into our GE and go back a little bit. And yep, there you go. Yeah, this still kind of look like speckle, but at least it still has enough light for user to see what the hell is happening. Not like too dark as I already showed you earlier. So let's move on to the next section. So next thing is timing. So good timing can create a good story within a picture. And most I say most moments are temporarily. So you have to make sure you capture everything very quickly. So therefore, screenshot here is your best friend. Even if a picture does not look that good, a good timing with a good moment can create much more story within it than anything else. I have a couple of examples over here. So there's one guy who his entire heli got shut down, but he is still alive. So when someone sees this, they can think he as the god. Or here is unit doing something with the war criminal, I don't know. I'm just a media guy. I don't care about the event outcome. And then this me flipping the heli upside down. Yeah. And then this someone sniping on top of the tower into Sokrina. You can notice that all of these four things may happen only temporarily. So yeah, during an actual event, I have to like take screenshot constantly so that I can get these beautiful moments like this. Since this requires a lot of movement, so there won't be any examples for this, but you can always practice this on your own. Okay, so let's go into the most painful and confusing part of this reaction. I have to, so these camera settings. So first is movement. So I have the speed over here. The float here means that it can be any value. Say 1, 2, 3, 120, 0.5, literally any value except negative value. And then we also have the pan. The speed here controls the movement speed. The pan here controls the camera turn speed, and the zoom controls the zoom speed. Let's demonstrate over here. Okay, so I'm having the RGB over here. So let's get things to be brighter than the future. So let's say 10. There we go. I don't have. Okay. So so speed here, if I crank it up, I'm gonna move very fast, probably like Sonic already. Woo! And then, nope, yep, that's a bit fast. And then I crank it down a bit. I'm gonna move very slow like a turtle. And then I have the pan here. It defines zoom speed. So if I say to 1, I turn. Oh, sorry, this is turning speed. My bad. So if I point it to number 1, I want to turn very slow. I will turn it to say 50. I'm gonna move very fast. Woo! And then I also have the zoom over here. You can see that I'm gonna reset this a bit. That the default here can be quite slow, but if I crank this up, say very high, say 12, I'm gonna yep, that is very fast. So that's one of the movement features. And then you also have damping, but as I research, this related to video recording, so this will not be discussed here. Okay, so let's go into the one of the most confusing part, depth of field. So first thing I say is that I recommend you to only use it for photo shoot, meaning when everyone is standing still or object is static. So and not recommended to take for actions, because I will show you a quick example real quick. Okay, so let's say I will okay, so I have the main character over here. This is still zooming fast, so it's here. So I'm gonna tweak these features properties a little bit. So focus radius so 10, and then I'm gonna far intensity 0.4. Should be good. Okay, so this is the depth of field in action, right? So this is the depth of field in action. You can see that the background behind it is blurry. So what happens when you use it for movement? So say if your camera is constantly moving like this, everything behind it is gonna get blurry also. So, but you also want some of it to be still focused. By focus, I mean like when the character looks very sharp like this. So it can create unexpected result if you use it for actions. So I really only recommend it when you use it for photo shoot. Okay, so these are the properties and these are very confusing. So I have the illustration on the next slide. So let's go into there. So I have the illustration over here. So let's go one by one. First is focus distance. I'm gonna crank this value up a bit. Oh, by the way, let's explain the intensity first. So the far intensity here defines how blurry it is for the further object. So and like it name suggests. So I'm gonna go to 0 and to say 8. It gets very blurry, and only the further object gets blurry. So let's say if I get reset it to 0 and then I crank up the near intensity. Oh, it's not working yet, so let's crank up it a bit. So I have to decrease this. Nope. A little more. Yep, there we go. Yeah, you can see that the near intensity will literally blur my character and literally anything that is below here. So while my character looks very blur, the background behind it looks very fresh and sharp. So I'm gonna try to crank this up a bit. Yep. Okay, so the reason these are overriding is because I am currently setting the far intensity to be 0. So if I set this to say 0.4, the background behind it gets blurred. But if I set it to 3, this also gets blurred. The key thing here is that you always need, if you want to use depth of field, you need to like always have a value for each of these. Okay. Okay, so let's continue with the camera settings. So I have here is the color correction. So the saturation literally defines how fresh a color is. You can see that the illustration here. You can see that as the value is very low, the color kind of look very bland. But if you crank this up, the color suddenly looks quite fresh. And I have the contrast here. This is literally the differences in color between each element. I think this will be best demonstrated when I try to adjust this value. And then there's also brightness. It's supposed to adjust brightness, but in RGA, this one literally just set the opacity of a big white layer over the screen. So try not to overuse this. And then for origin, we have the set the coordinate of the origin and also the jump to the set origin. And then for actions, we have the lock. We can lock the camera in place and we can attach it to a body part or moving object. So let's get an examples over here. Okay, so let's talk about color correction over here. So I have the cinematic camera here. So let's first saturation. So saturation. So if I crank this up very high, you see that everything looks very fresh, as if you are in somewhere like in the nature itself. You finally touch grass. You see the grass is green, the sky is blue, like in your dreams. But if I can be stopped down again, everything looks like my life. It's very depressive. And then I also have the contrast over here. So this will make kind of every color element be bolder. So let's try it up to 1. And yeah, this looks like every single movie in the 1960 where everything is exactly like this, because they were using film cameras. Okay, and then lastly I have the brightness over here. Let's reset this look ugly. So if I crank this up a little bit, I get a very white layer. Flashback shit. Okay, so let's bring down a bit. Yeah, so as you can see, it literally just a white layer on top. So if I set the weather, set the time to say midnight, yeah, it doesn't look very good either, because it just literally just a white layer on top. Okay, so let's reset this. Okay, so 10, yep. So origin here is very easy to understand. So if I jump here, it will jump to the default location. But if I set over here, it will jump to that set location, no matter where I go. and if I set it here, it would jump to that location. This is useful when you say this is the base and you have some actions over here. You have to follow the camera over here, some boom boom, some driving over here, and then when you want to return to the base to take picture of everyone, you can just press jump, and there you go, you got back here. And then for lock, you literally can say I lock over here, so I cannot move to any other location, but what I can do is I can zoom in, go in, go out, and then rotate around like this. This really like a character selection. Okay. Yeah, like this. Okay, and then lastly we have attach. So for attach, you can attach to either your body here or any moving object like the helicopter over here. So I will try first to attach to myself. So let's say those helmet cam perspective you saw on social media, right? You can also apply it here using. So I will set it up like this. Did it attach? No, it did not. Okay, so let's try again. Yep, it attached now. So let's say I hold the M1G over here and I go into RGB. You can see that the camera moves with me. You can see it. Yep, and then yep. Yeah, I say this is a very useful tool if you plan to do a lot of media things. And then also, and you can also attach it to the heli over here. So I will attach it to over here. And then I wanna go fly the heli. So let's go over here. And then fly like a true pilot. And I say this is the greatest plan. Yep, you can see it. I am moving very professionally. And then, yeah, obviously I crashed. Then, but yeah, this attach here is a very helpful tool for media recording. Okay, so that's literally all the theory part, and now it's practice done. Since this is a recorded video, so there's no practice over here, but you can always try it for yourself. But in the actual media training, I did host a practice like this, so you can join if you want.